Hi, my name is Shayla with Revolting Science Resources, a company designed to bring the principles of project management to academic scientists. And in today's video, I'm going to be doing a small task that I hope will have a big impact on my sanity. So I'm thinking of making this a series on my YouTube channel where I essentially just do some sort of small task that I think is going to have a really big impact in either my anxiety levels or my organization, or just something that I think is going to make me feel good. In this particular video, I'm actually going to be setting up my Slack notifications as well as Slack statuses. So currently, Slack has just been giving me a lot of anxiety. So I use Slack not only for my business, but also for the current job that I hold. And then I also use Slack when I was in graduate school to talk amongst my lab and then also various groups and organizations that I was a part of. So if you use Slack either in your lab, as part of other groups, or in the position that you hold, one thing that's really useful is they have a way that you can essentially set up statuses or set up your notifications so that you're not constantly being notified about information you maybe don't care the most about. So, as an example of this, when I was in grad school, our lab started using Slack. And so sometimes I'd be working at the bench and doing various experiments, and my watch, pretty much, I used an Apple Watch at the time. So I got notifications from my phone through my watch. My watch would be buzzing constantly. And it was driving me insane. I'm trying to pipette, I'm trying to focus, and my watch is buzzing. And I think, oh, maybe it's something I need to deal with or need to handle. But most of the time, it's just people having a conversation on Slack that I probably don't need to look at in the middle of my experiment. So, having a way to have Slack notifications set up, but maybe also set my status so I'm not getting notifications during specific activities would have been really valuable. Didn't do it. And now here I am at my current job, and we just get a lot of Slack notifications. I did set up at least some level of the notification setting so that I'm mostly only getting notified for things that I'm being mentioned in specifically. But sometimes that's still a lot of notifications, especially when it's outside of my working hours. And it also makes some of the tasks that I'm doing in my job difficult when I'm really trying to focus and get some work done. Um, and my Slack notifications are constantly alerting me that there's something else that is trying to draw my attention away. So if you're anything like me and you're getting a little anxious about your Slack notifications, how many of them are showing up on your phone, also just generally, or you want the ability to have a set period of time where you can essentially just turn the notifications off while you're doing some sort of deep work or focused task. This video is for you. And if you're also a person who uses Slack but, isn't having that issue right now, this could also just be a really great opportunity to set it up so that it doesn't become an issue in the future. So now that I've told you a little about what I'm doing today in terms of setting up my Slack notifications and my Slack statuses, I definitely challenge you to do this with me. So pull up wherever you have Slack, either on your phone, your desktop, and just get ready to set up some Slack statuses and make sure you have your notification preferences set the way you prefer them to be. So with that, let's get started. So here you can actually see Slack's Help Center page that actually gives you some information about setting up your Slack status as well as your availability. And so we kind of scroll through this. It talks through all the various steps that I'm actually going to walk through in this video, but I'll put a link to this webpage in the description box below just in case you want to reference it later. But now let's actually go into the process of setting up our Slack status as well as notification settings for our profile specifically. So here I actually have the Revolting Science Resources Slack channel pulled up. And I think this is really great because I can also talk about things not only as a participant within a Slack channel, but also as the person who owns the workspace. A couple things to note. If you actually want to join the Revolting Science Resources Slack channel, you're totally welcome to. I'll actually put a link in the description box below that will take you to sign up for our newsletter. And that will include some information about how you can join the Revolting Science Resources Slack channel. But for now, pretty much what I'll do is actually start by saying if you're an administrator of a Slack channel, you can actually set for your group various statuses that they can easily click into. So you can do that by going to the tools and settings and then clicking customize workspace. Once you click that button, you can go here to the statuses, and then you have a variety of statuses that you can essentially set as defaults for your team. For example, maybe a good one, especially in a lab environment, would be instead of commuting, let's do researching. And then you have the ability to change the emoji. This one's my personal favorite. And then you can set the duration. So this one you can set if you want to don't clear, and then essentially that'll be cleared whenever the actual participant clears it themselves. So for example, we can do that and click save. If you are not the actual workspace administrator for your Slack channel, This kind of won't show up for you. You'll just have the default settings that are available for your lab, but that's okay because you can always create your own. But first, let's actually talk about just setting up your own status. So, actually, if you click this button here, this button actually gives you the status for your Slack channel. And then you have this button here that allows you to update your status. So, if you click that, you can see all of the different statuses here that are available, including the new researching status that we just created for this workspace. But the best part is you can also create your own statuses. So, say I'm actually writing right now. I can also change the emoji if I want. And then you can also say when you want the status to be removed. So if I've just got an hour writing block that I put on my calendar and I want to make sure I'm not disturbed, I can set that for an hour and then also click pause notifications. So that way, if there are any notifications that are mentioning my name or other things related to the channel, the Slack channel for the lab, I can just pause those. They won't show up and I can really focus on writing. So if I click save, you'll notice that here on my side, it actually has my name, but then it has this little kind of pencil in the description that says that I'm writing. The best part too is that once I'm done writing, I can either wait for that hour to elapse, but if I finish writing a little early, I can always just clear my status as well. Another thing to note is that when you make a new status like this, it actually will show up in this recent section. So even if your lab has defaults that you don't really need or regularly use, you can always just create your own and then have those show up here. Another thing worth noting is that there are these options to automatically create updates as well to your status. So that can be based off of a Google Calendar or an Outlook calendar, and it will automatically say that you're in a meeting whenever there's a meeting booked on your calendar. So that's another really cool feature that will make sure you're not getting notifications at times that you're not really wanting to. So that's how you can actually set up a Slack status so that you're not getting notifications while you're trying to do some type of deep work or other activity in the lab. But now let's also talk about notification preferences. So you can also set your own notification preferences by going to preferences here and then this notifications tab. So one thing to note is that I'm currently using the desktop version of Slack. I'm actually using it through my browser, but you can also have Slack either A as a desktop app, but also as an app on your mobile device. And you can use different settings for your mobile devices versus your desktop devices. So there's something to keep in mind. Here, I currently have it set so that I'm being notified about all new messages. For my Revolting Science Resources Slack channel, that makes the most sense. But odds are, if you're in a lab, there's probably certain messages that aren't really pertinent to you or don't really pertain to you. And so I would recommend setting the notification setting to direct messages, mentions, and keywords. So if someone uses the at symbol and mentions your name, you'll get a message. If they send you a direct message, you'll get a message. But then you can also set your own keywords so that if people are saying or having conversations about specific things related to something that you're particularly interested in or care a lot about, you'll be able to get a notification about that as well. And then again, if you want to use different settings for your mobile device, you can as well. You can also set this to not get any notifications about anything that's going on in the Slack workspace. My recommendation, though, is at least to have kind of this setting set. But if it's a Slack workspace that's more fun or communal or used for some type of group or organization that you just want to check when you want to or have the time, then nothing could be an appropriate option as well. You also have the option to, again, set different settings for mobile devices. So definitely just keep that in mind if you want to. But for now, I'm actually going to keep this at all new messages and I'm going to keep this the same as well. So huddles can start where essentially like video calls within Slack. So I do want to be notified if huddle starts in one of my channels and then notify me about replies to threads I'm following. So if I'm following a specific thread, I probably want to know what else is being said. So I also want to receive notifications for those as well. Here's another section though where you can actually just set a notification schedule. So as long as you don't have a status that's set that pauses notifications, essentially if you set a notification schedule, you'll just receive notifications as long as it's within that time window, but not outside of it, which can be really valuable. So for the Revolting Science Resources Slack community, essentially I do want to keep these settings the same, but you always can change those. You can change them so that it's only allowing notifications on the weekday, creating custom schedules based off of various days. So really, it's up to you what you'd prefer to do with that section. Then for sound and appearance, you can also change how the notifications look, sound, or behave. Definitely look through those. And if there ever are any instances where it's bothering you or there's specific things that are frustrating about it, feel free to change it. And then you can also change how notifications are sent between desktop and mobile devices. And so that's what this last section is here. So feel free to set that as you prefer as well. And then this last kind of button, allows you to also send email notifications to mentions and direct messages. So for me personally, sometimes I just live out of my inbox. And so as long as it ends up there, it ends up being okay. But that could be a lot, especially in Slack. And so the nice thing is this is only going to be for mentions and direct messages, but you can decide if your email inbox tends to be like your last ditch effort. If you missed it, you're going to find it in your email inbox. That might be a good box to check. But otherwise, maybe not. I think we all get enough emails. Now that I've gone through and finished this task, I want to challenge you. Why don't you go through, look through your Slack, set up your notifications so that you're not being bothered when you don't want to be, but then also set up some Slack statuses that you think you'll use often that'll help you make sure that you have some blocked out time to really just focus and not be notified about things that maybe aren't that urgent or important. So if you like this video, doing some sort of small task and doing it together to make our lives more organized or feel less anxious or just feel good about ourselves, give this video a thumbs up and I'll try to make more videos like it. Also, just as a reminder, I'll put in the description box below not only a link to the Slack webpage that talks a little about setting your own statuses, but also a link to sign up for the Revolting Science Resources newsletter, where you can also join the Revolting Science Resources Slack community. That's it for this video, but I'll see you in the next one. Bye.